So I'm going to show you how to put a blade on a scalpel safely without cutting yourself, and use a scalpel to take thin sections from a slice of penicillium fungus, place them on a slide so that we can see the fungal structures relative to one another without squashing them all over the place. So I'm taking a scalpel handle and a scalpel blade. We have two types of handles and two types of blades. The small handle goes with a number 11 blade, and the larger handle goes with a number 22 or 24 blade. I'm going to use a number 11 blade for this exercise. Now, putting a blade on a scalpel is one of the most dangerous things you will do in microbiology, and it's where we see most accidents happening in this course. It's very important that you don't stab yourself with the scalpel blade when you're putting it on. So what I've got here is a scalpel blade. I'm going to peel back the foil wrapper at the end where it's obvious to begin, peel it back far enough to reveal the hole in the handle where I'm going to insert, a hole in the blade where I'm going to insert the handle. The handle of the scalpel, you'll notice, has got one flat side and one raised side, and it's the raised part that you want to slot into this hole in the scalpel blade. So gripping the scalpel blade firmly and flat between my thumb and my finger, I'm going to slide the handle into this socket in the blade, sliding it gently till it clicks into place. I heard the click, but it probably doesn't come over on the camera. Now, if it doesn't slide easily into place, seek help, because if you continue to force it, it's very likely that the blade will come through the foil lining and into your fingers. And yes, it's a sterile scalpel blade, so it's not going to carry microbes with it, but it can cause a nasty flesh wound, and we don't want that to happen, of course. So now I'm going to take this scalpel and a culture of penicillium and transfer the penicillium onto the slide. So I'm going to use alcohol to sterilize the tools, not the flame, so that the blades don't get blunt. And I'm going to take two slides, and I'm going to take a block of penicillium onto one slide, cut a thin slice off it, and place that thin slice on a second slide. So, taking the instruments, draining off the excess alcohol so that there's not too much to burn off, and then pass those through the Bunsen flame to burn off the excess alcohol. Then I'm going to put the forceps down on the tubing of the Bunsen so that the tip is in the air and not in touch with the desk or the bench where it might get contaminated. Now I'm going to cut a small block out of the penicillium culture, and notice how I'm shielding the culture from the air, not to avoid contamination but to avoid liberating spores so that we don't have too many spores going into the air. Now I'm lifting up that block and placing it onto the slide that's closest to me, and then I'm done with the culture for the time being. Now I'm going to take my sterile forceps and the block, and I'm going to cut a very thin section off one side of this block. Now I'm just lining it up to see which one I think might work best for me. Oops, not spinning it around in a circle. And I'm going to use the forceps to anchor the block. So taking as thin a slice as I can of the edge that's presented to me, I'm going to place that thin slice onto a slide. I'm not very happy with that one, it's just a bit too thin and it fell apart. So taking another slice, a tiny little bit back into my block, I'm going to try the other face now. There we go. A nice thin slice of the culture, and I'm transferring that onto the next slide. And I'm going to take a second one, because it's often easier to get the second one nice and thin. And there we go, we have two thin slices. I might, even when I'm on a roll, go for a third one. And see just how good that is. Whichever one turns out to be the best is the one that I will look at further. So now my tools go straight into the alcohol, and I'm ready to put a slide and a cover slip on here. So I'm going to take lactoglycerol trypan blue for one of those smears, one of those slices, and then drop it gently onto the fungus. And then I'm just going to see which of these I think is the thinnest and which one I'm going to take next. Yeah, definitely number 2. So just getting rid of this. I don't want it, that's going straight into the waste. Okay, so I'm going to take just lactoglycerol this time and put a drop of lactoglycerol onto that slice of fungus. And then put a cup slip on each one. So starting from the edge where the agar was in contact with the base of the plate up to where the fungal spores are, I'm dropping that on very gently and then pressing it down firmly so that the agar spreads just a little bit on the slide and the liquid moves to the edge of the cover slip, but the block of fungus doesn't go shooting out to the side of the cover slip. So we've got a nice thin section there. And then taking another cover slip and doing the same with the slice that's being stained. So very gently lowering it down and placing my finger on top and gently pressing it till the liquid comes to the edge. And now we have 2 thin slices of penicillium on a slide that are ready to go under the microscope. So when you're observing the specimen, you want to be able to see the fungus intact. You will see the hyphae in the culture medium, which represents my forearm, or is represented by my forearm. You will see the conidiophores, which in the culture stick up from the surface of the agar, which is my hand and fingers, and then you will see chains of spores at the tip of what we call the phyllides. And we'd like you to see all those things connected to one another. So when you're looking at this specimen, start from what was the upper surface of the culture and look around there and see if you can see any of those conidiophores intact. And if you can, that's the sort of thing we'd like you to see and like you to draw. Good luck with this exercise. Needs a steady hand. Thank you.